Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Big Sew Along. I'm Ginny, and this is an episode of Friday Sews. Because, as you all know, I am in the middle of a move, so I really have not done a stitch of sewing since my last video. But I have done a lot of packing. I cleaned out my my cupboard of books, which are all sewing, knitting, crocheting, embroidering, needlepointing, those books. I did have some literature in there, but most of that is upstairs. So I was looking through these books, and I did this. Sorry, I'm looking at Claude while I'm talking to you because I don't know what he's doing except trying to knock over the camera. Anyway, I did this 5 years ago when I moved into this house, and I did a big de-stash, and I have just as many books now as I had before I did that de-stash, and I don't know how it happens, you guys, but I did de-stash a bunch of them. I went through everything, and I pulled out anything that I literally haven't even looked at since I moved here, and it was a lot. So I don't know about where you guys are, but here the Salvation Army doesn't take books. So I had been taking them in the past. I had taken them to the St. Vincent de Paul, which is a little bit further away from me, but it's not far. It's like 5 miles. So that's where I had planned to take them. So I loaded up 6 boxes of books. They're like book boxes, so they're not too heavy, but they're good size. It was a lot of books. And I put them in my car, and then I didn't have time. That was like the day before yesterday. I didn't have time to get to the St. Vincent de Paul before they closed. And then yesterday I had to work, so they were still in my car. This morning I went and had coffee with my friend Susan, and then after coffee we were like, oh, we'll go over to the St. Vincent de Paul and drop off these books. So we get almost all the way over there, and literally every road that leads to the St. Vincent de Paul is under construction, and most of them are closed. So even though the St. Vincent de Paul is maybe 5 miles away from my house, it took us about an hour and 15 minutes to get there, figure out we couldn't get into the St. Vincent de Paul, and then get back. So still had all these books in my car. And then I just Googled where to donate books, right? And I came up with this local charity that actually picks up your books and they sort them based on whether or not they need to be recycled or donated or sold for charity, you know, benefits and stuff like that. But it doesn't really matter what they do with them because I just don't want them anymore. So I'm glad that somebody else will do something with them. Anyways, they come and pick them up. So I've been driving around with like 6 boxes of books in my car for 3 days when I could have just put them on the front porch and called these guys and been done with it. So see what a little Googling can do for you. I was like, oh my God, why didn't I think of that days ago? That is essentially as far as I've gotten with cleaning out my house and getting ready for our move. I did spend a fair amount of time stuck at the new house with nothing to do because I was waiting for electricians and the fence guy and the key guy and a bunch of other stuff that you just always have to do when you move. But I don't have anything over there yet, so it's not like I could start unpacking or anything. I did put up a big bookshelf. Actually just a big metal wire shelf with, I have one solid shelf and everything else is wire. I put that up in my new sewing room. I got that at what's it called? It's called the Container Store. Yeah, it's the Container Store. I just got one because that's all I could manage to get to my car. But I really thought I was going to get 3, and now that I have it up in there, I think 1 might be fine. Anyway, so it's coming along very slowly. I did get some carpeted step treads for the stairs to the basement so the dogs can get up and down easily. Yeah, so that's where what I've been focusing on. I have no room at all to do any sewing. I have my sewing machines still and my ironing board and I have all the stuff. I just don't have any space to lay anything out to cut it out. So that's the other reason that I've gotten nothing done this week, sewing wise. But I remembered a while back, one of you asked me if I could talk to you about my favorite online sewing, my favorite online fabric stores. And that is what I thought I would do today. I have a list of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 shops. And I will leave links to all of the shops below. But I'm going to go through these, and if I have pictures of any of the shop itself or anything of interest, I'll pop it up here. But let's just get into it, okay? The first one is a store called Oak Fabrics. They're out of Chicago. I've shopped there forever. They used to be called the Needle Shop years and years ago. When I still lived in Chicago, I shopped there. Then she moved and changed the name to Oak Fabrics, and then maybe, I want to say it was the year before the pandemic, she closed up her brick and mortar shop, and she's now strictly online, although she does also have an Etsy shop. What do I like to buy from Oak Fabrics? Well, she has a really good selection of independent patterns. She doesn't have everything, but she has a good selection. She does carry a fair amount of Merchant and Mills fabric, and also a good selection of Atelier Brunette fabric, aside from Kaufman and I think Cloud9 and some of those others that are more known for quilting cottons, but definitely have other things. The thing that I find I buy from her the most often is stuff that she finds just for her shop. So it's not really listed as a designer, it's just the kind of fabric, and then it's listed under as an Oak Fabrics. So she gets a lot of designer stuff, like a lot of stores do. So usually when people find designer dead stock, it's stock that's no longer being manufactured, and these fabric stores buy the last of it that there is. So you're not going to find the same dead stock at every store. Oak Fabric tends to find some really good ones. I really like her stuff. She also has some stuff that is not dead stock that I have not seen other places. Particularly her Ecot fabrics I really like. Yeah, and she also has a lot of really good trims if you want to make bags or jeans or those kinds of things that need a specific hardware. Definitely check her shop because she tends to have a fair amount of that stuff. Latoff, which is a fabric store out of, I believe she's in San Diego. You guys have heard me talk about her store before. I buy from her pretty regularly. She is another one like Oak Fabrics. She doesn't carry any of those big manufacturers, though. Literally all of her stuff is designer dead stock. So her fabrics, you will often find things from, what did I have here? Oh, she gets a lot of stuff from Johnny Was, which is really cool. If you're not familiar with the Johnny Was brand, you should look it up. They've got a very sort of hippie boho vibe to them. Their prints are amazing. And she gets a lot of good stuff from them. Also, James Purse, which is a manufacturer that makes primarily t-shirts and like loungewear, I think. Anyway, knits. So she gets a lot of their stuff, and their knits are really high quality and really beautiful. She also gets other designers like Monique Luellier, which is like I think Monique Luellier does mostly bridal. She has some really fantastic things. The only thing is her stuff goes really, really quickly. Her website is a little harder to navigate. It's separated by categories. So she'll have fancies, and she'll have like sportswear, and then she'll have ribbons and trims, and she'll have a section called small sale, which is just like the last bits of whatever she has. I always find some good stuff there as well. Check her out. Sign up for her newsletter so that you know when she's putting new stuff in her shop. You can go and check. A lot of times her stuff sells out before I can even get to look at it. So definitely sign up for her newsletter. Stone Mountain and Daughter is a store out of, pretty sure they're in San Francisco. They're a big independent store. You can literally find any kind of fabric you want there. The thing is that it's going to be more expensive than, say, fabrics.com, because for the most part, it's a higher quality than most of that stuff. You're not going to find a ton of polyesters there. You're going to find your cottons, linens, silks. I bought velvet from them. They have really beautiful things. They have a really good selection of all kinds of things. They do carry Lady Makerie. They also carry Atelier Brunette, Coca, which is a Japanese brand, Liberty, and they carry a good selection of Nanny Aero fabrics. Again, not inexpensive fabrics, but well worth the price because they are so beautiful. Stone Mountain & Daughter also has a good selection of dead stock. If you go to their sidebar, somewhere in there you'll find a selection that says dead stock. You can always find really good things in there as well. Same thing, it's designer stuff that is not being manufactured anymore. Whatever there is what there is, and that's it. So if you like something that's a dead stock, no matter if it's at Stone Mountain or Oak Fabrics or wherever, get it. Stone Mountain also has a really good selection of patterns, primarily independent patterns, and I'm not sure, I can't remember if they sell anybody's PDF patterns. I think they're print. I think Stone Mountain sells just the print patterns. You know what I forgot to say? Oh, sorry, I gotta go back to Latoff. I forgot to say that Latoff Fabrics also carries some patterns, but they are not your usual patterns. Check their books section as well, because they have some really interesting books from time to time. Over the years, I've bought like some really cool, interesting books from them. They have patterns from the Center for Pattern Design, which I believe was the original owner of Latoff Fabrics, and I could be wrong. I can't really remember what that whole transition was about. But Center for Pattern Design has patterns that are based on Madeline Vianney and some other really high-end designers. They're super, super cool. I have a couple of them. I have never made any of them because honestly, they're probably not the kind of patterns I would wear, but I just love them. They also have patterns from DP Studio, which is a company out of France who does some really, really interesting stuff. Never bought any of their patterns, and I couldn't tell you whether or not they even come in English, but have a look because they're very cool. And then they also carry Pattern Fantastique, which I believe is a company out of New Zealand. Also, again, just super interesting, unusual shapes and things I don't see all over the... Okay, sorry. Now back to Stone Mountain & Daughter. So we covered the fabrics and the patterns. They also have a good selection of notions, and it's easy to get thread for your fabric. If you need thread, they have an option when you add the fabric to your cart to add matching thread. They also have very fast shipping, really good customer service, and every once in a while they send you a discount code, so sign up for their emails. Fabricstore.com, again, I think they're out in California, not 100% sure. Most of you are already familiar with them. They sell exclusively linen, although I know they have some linen and cotton blends. They have a variety of different fabrics. The thing that I buy most often from them is their mid-weight solid linens. I do like their linens. I don't think that they're the highest quality, but they are by far the most affordable. And I've never had a problem with them wearing out or anything, or being like, it's just not quite as fine as some of the other linens I've had. But that said, I have a ton of it. I still buy it from them all the time. And if you check their doggy bag section, you will often find cuts that are like 1.5 yards, because Fabricstore.com only sells in full yards. So if you check the doggy bag section, sometimes you can find something that's a little over 1 yard or a little under 1 yard, which is, and it's always on sale in the doggy bag section, but that means you don't have to buy like 2 yards if what you really need is 1.5 yards. So check the doggy bag section. Also, they do have patterns. The patterns that they have for sale are patterns that they produce themselves. I do not have any of those patterns. I've never used any of those patterns. They have a huge selection of free patterns. I've used many of those, and I've had good success with them. So definitely check those out. I think in order to access the free patterns, you have to sign up for their, you have to sign up for an account, which just means giving them your email address. Emma One Sock. Emma One Sock, I want to say, is in Pennsylvania. Pretty sure. Emma One Sock has a lot of, much like Latoff and Oak Fabrics, she carries a lot of designer goods that are not, that you're not necessarily going to find everywhere. She does have a really good selection of Liberty most of the time. She has something called Dutch digital prints. And if you guys remember the polka dot mousseline that I'm eventually going to make another Lily's dress out of is from Emma One Sock. She has some really interesting, very cool fabrics like that. She also recently had a really good selection of Rachel Comey fabrics. Most of her stuff, I'm going to guess, because of that, most of that stuff I'm guessing is going to be dead stock, because Rachel Comey or other designers don't really sell their fabric until they're done with it, which means it's no longer being manufactured. Once they're done manufacturing their clothes out of it, they'll sell it to somebody in New York or Los Angeles, and then fabric stores can go buy whatever is left. But I'm assuming if it's in a fabric store, it's no longer being made, which means it's dead stock. Even though Emma One Sock doesn't, I don't think she has, she might have a selection for actual dead stock. But anyways, the Dutch digital prints and a lot of her cotton spandex knits and things, I don't think that they're dead stock fabrics. I don't really know. But I will say I've purchased a lot of fabrics from her, and they are always top quality. And her shipping is amazingly fast. I assume it's a her because it's Emma One Sock, but who knows. I just assume that everybody I'm talking to is a girl. Not really. Sorry. Anyways, okay. Lake's Makerie is out of, again, I think, we were just talking about this last week maybe. I think that they're out of Minneapolis. I know they're out of Minnesota. Again, fast shipping. She has a really good selection of more like the, what am I trying to say? Coca, Kaufman, Art Gallery, Merchant and Mills. Gosh, I'm having a hard time getting it all out. Those kinds of fabrics that are not going to be your designer dead stocks. She does, however, have a very, very good selection. Oh yeah, you know what she has is, she has French General, which is very cool. She has Nanny Iro again, a very good selection of Nanny Iro. And she has Sevenberry, which is another Japanese company, and I love their stuff too. So, especially if you tend to like things like that, that looks like, I don't know if they're really, they look like shibori or maybe even, I don't know what that's called. Those Japanese indigo and white prints. I don't know what they're called. Anyways, she has a good selection of those. Those are from Sevenberry. I really like that stuff. She also has a really good selection of patterns, and I believe Lake's Makerie now sells the Merchant and Mills PDF patterns as well. Okay, last on my list, I think it's last, it is Rusty Crow, and I think Rusty Crow is from North Carolina or South Carolina. They have, Rusty Crow has mostly quilting fabrics, and she does some like wool felting, like kits and things like that. She carries something called Valdani embroidery floss. I actually have purchased that from her before. I really, really like the Valdani floss, so if you are thinking about doing an embroidery project, check it out. She has a really good selection. Aside from that, what she does carry is Diamond Textiles. Diamond Textiles are homespun cottons. They all have a really lovely texture, and they all have really subtle like color work in them. I've used them many, many times. I really like them. They wash really well. They just look beautiful. I mean, I know it sounds crazy to say that like a homespun cotton is beautiful, but those fabrics are just really awesome. Rusty Crow is also super fast shipping, very reasonable prices, and yeah, I think that's it. But they have the biggest selection of diamond textiles I've found anywhere in the US. I think that there are some other places that carry it, but that's the only one I ever go to because they have the biggest selection. I forgot one. Okay, Simplifi Fabric, which is in Canada. I haven't purchased anything from them since probably pre-pandemic. Just because once the pandemic hit, the shipping from Canada became super crazy. Not even just the expense, but the time it took to get stuff. The fabric store where I work, Haberman's, which by the way is my #1 source for fabric. Haberman's orders some fabrics from Canadian manufacturers, and since the beginning of the pandemic, they've literally taken months to get to the store, whereas usually they would take, you know, like days. And I assume that that's because of all of the backups in shipping and things like that. So anyways, I haven't actually ordered anything from Simplifi for a long time, but I will say they have a really good selection of fabrics. If you want denim or sweatshirting or organic fleece, organic cotton jersey, that kind of stuff, they have a really good selection of that. They also carry some pattern companies that I don't see that often. They carry So Girl UK, which I really like. I've ordered a couple of patterns of hers from them pre-pandemic. And I've also ordered a lot of other fabrics from them, and I've always had really good success with it. I don't know what their shipping is like now, because like I said, I just haven't ordered anything from them since for the last 2 years. But before the pandemic, their shipping was super quick. So, okay, you guys. I think that that is it for me today. I hope everybody's having a great sewing week. Go check out all the other Friday Sews videos and see what else is out there. Hopefully, I am not going to promise a video for next week because I am honestly just not sure I will have anything to talk about, since I'm still not going to be able to get any sewing done. I don't think. I may. If I do, I will get a video up for you. What else? I did open a Ko-Fi account, so if you guys feel like you want to make a small donation and help support my ridiculous pattern habit, there's a little link in the banner at the top of my channel, and I will also leave a link below in the show notes. If you don't feel like doing that, that is a-okay. Please do hit like, subscribe, and share me with your friends, because all of that helps me a lot too. Okay, until next week, happy sewing.